Salute and welcome to the channel. So I honestly can't believe I'm making this video, but I will have to say that hell has frozen over and the Tekken 8 development team has done a pretty decent job with this patch. For those unaware, this patch came out I think about a day or two ago, and it pretty much removed most, not all, of the heat dash combo follow-up opportunities that have been plaguing this game since the very beginning. So if I just go and show you my screen, this video here that you're seeing on the screen is from a gentleman named IMOP. So I'm utilizing his video real quick. Everything that I show, I will have in the description and the pinned comment. But as you can see, in terms of the before and after of many of the characters, before you would engage with a move that allows you, like a heat engage like maneuver, you dash afterwards and you get a free combo follow-up. Those are largely all removed. However, there are people that are not 100% satisfied with this patch because they feel that several of their characters are quote unquote dead. I've seen people that reference Huarang, they've referenced Claudio and whoever else that I may not even be aware of that they're discussing. And I just think that this is a step in the right direction from the developers. I think that there is more work that needs to be done. If I'm being perfectly honest, I have to give the developers their due, because I've been very, very critical of this game with good reason. For me personally, I am a 31-year veteran of this franchise, and I have pretty much ceased playing this game offline, streaming it or what have you, because of the horrific mechanics that this game has. I've said many times on my videos that the mechanics of a fighting game is what makes or break it. And I think a lot of my peers on YouTube, my other fellow content creators, I don't think they really understand that. They're so fixated on, oh, this character is nerfed, this character needs to be buffed. But at the same time, I don't think that they really quite understand where the fault truly lies. Because let me give you an example. If the mechanics of this game afforded you to relaunch somebody in the same combo 6 times, is that really a character issue or is that an issue with the game? Because even if you nerf a particular character into the ground, at the end of the day, they are able to relaunch you 6 times, because that is what the mechanics of this game allows you to do. It's very important to understand that. This is the reason why I've said many times that you can nerf characters all you want. Until you address the mechanics of the game, that is the only time you're able to kind of get the game back on course. Now, however, it also is very important to note that you have people that actually do enjoy Tekken 8. They love Tekken 8 as it is. They never had any real significant issues with the game. And then you had people like myself that have been very critical of the game. And then you have other people that are kind of like, they're like in the middle. So for the people that love the game, they enjoy the product, I never have no shade against them. Play the game, enjoy the game. I'm happy for you. But for those people that have been continuously critical, but yet and still keep playing the game, streaming it, I feel like they're hypocrites. And I've made a video on that. For those of you who haven't seen it, go check that out. But, it is what it is. I'm a very tiny channel. What I have to say a lot of times doesn't even appear on anybody's radar, but I know what I'm saying is 100% true, because unlike my peers, I have a firm understanding of the industry and why games are the way they are. So while this patch is in the right direction, there are still many things that need to be addressed. Number one, all crouch grabs 100% need to be breakable. Number two, there should be no grabs. I guess you can kind of look at this as the first one, but there should be no grabs that should be unbreakable. I think that's absolutely egregious. It makes no sense. And, you know, this is something that wasn't an issue back in Tekken 7, as well as return the chicken option. I understand why, largely why they got rid of it in the first place was to pretty much help, and it was to the benefit of a character like Asuka or Jun, or those characters that are very high on the defensive side of things. And also there, I can also say, you guys, speaking to the Tekken 8 developers, you guys need to get rid of moves that regenerate heat. When you pop heat and you're in this augmented state, which I absolutely can't stand. However, I understand that there are people that are like this property. I can't stand it. But if you're going to leave it in, at least get rid of the restorative properties of heat upon the connection of a move. Like, for instance, I go back to this example many times. You have King that can giant swing you while he's in heat. Why is he able to regain a full segment of his heat bar? I mean, I'm sure there are many other characters, right? You know, every time you get hit by a shadow clone from Raven and Heat, he gets not even a full segment. He gets a portion. So all characters should not be able to regenerate heat under any circumstance. When you pop heat, when you augment your character, when you go Super Saiyan, that should be it. Whatever you are able to do within that time frame, once it's over, that's it. No matter whether you land a hit, whether your hit is blocked, it doesn't matter. That's what I would like to see, and I believe that there are many people within the community that feel as strongly as I do about that. I have also seen, and I agree with people, when it comes to certain moves that incur stage interactables, like for instance, there are some characters that they're able to spike you in the ground, and then it kind of, you know, goes into like you go through the ground, you know what I'm talking about. All of those type of situations, the damage scaling should be such that the overall damage of that interaction, like the full combo, should be dramatically reduced. Because either that or get rid of it. But I don't think that they're willing to get rid of that interactivity of the stage. But I do believe reducing the amount of damage that the combo that follows after it, I think that is a very fair ask, in my opinion. So again, you know, getting rid of grabs that are unbreakable, like that stupid grab from Yoshi where he's twirling the sword, the RKO from King, every single crouching grabs, it's absolutely ridiculous. You know, because to be perfectly honest, if I was the one in control of this game, I would just get rid of heat and rage. That's what I would do. But thankfully for you guys that love those mechanics, you're lucky that I'm not a part of the development team. But I do feel that it is very fair to ask for certain things. Now, I do understand why Namco went this direction with the game, and I've said this many times, but in case you are new here, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel, as well as if you want to go the extra mile, consider joining one of my memberships. You know, I need all the help I can get. I'm in New York, you know, it's kind of rough out here. And also follow me over on Twitter, you know, if you find any of this helpful. But anyway, let me get back to it. I understand why the developers went about things the way they did. And largely it is because of this right here. The development costs of this game, as you are seeing on your screen, it is estimated to be $122 million. So it makes perfect sense to me why the Tekken developers decided to prioritize the casual market. Because something that I want you guys to understand, and you're probably not going to hear this from any other larger content creator, is that the fighting game community, in terms of, or rather the entire genre of fighting games, is a very small segment of the overall gaming industry when it comes to profit, revenue, and so on and so forth. So it's important for you guys as fighting game players to know and recognize where you guys are on the totem pole. That's not a dig. That's not disrespect. I'm just giving you guys, I'm putting you guys onto the real game, the game of business. I want you guys to understand that. So when you have a game that's cost this amount of money, you, you're not. It's unlikely you are going to recoup those costs by catering primarily to the traditional market, which is essentially the hardcore audience. That's just what it is. Now, for further illustration, this from February 28th, 2024. Many of you remember this, but for those that don't, here's the article right here. And I will link this article as well. That Tekken 8 costs 3 times more to develop than Tekken 7. And then basically, if we go down here, here is that old post from Harada himself, right? So you have to understand that when you are creating a fighting game in today's age, and you are upwards of $100+ million, you are going to prioritize the casual market. Otherwise, the likelihood of you breaking even or gaining a profit is going to be very, very slim. Street Fighter 6 has done it. Mortal Kombat 1 is pretty much every fighting game has done this, and then also to illustrate this point as well. This is from an article. Well, I'll leave the article and you guys can check it out, but this is from GamePressure.com. So when I scrolled down, this part right here is very important right here. And I've shown this on my stream several times, but this part right here is important for you guys to understand. I think I've highlighted it, but it's much more interesting, however, seems to be the widening disparity between the two prominent branches of the industry over the years. Traditional gaming focused primarily on consoles and PCs earned a mere 27.6% of the revenue of the entire domestic gaming industry, while the vast majority, as much as 68.6%, earned on casual games and the mobile sector. Now, if you take that 27.6%, you're going to have to dice that down even smaller when speaking about the fighting game genre. And this should become abundantly clear as to the reasons why the Tekken 8 developers did what they did with Tekken 8. Now, that brings me back to this overarching point that, you guys might be wondering is, well, you guys might be saying, well, Red, if what you're saying is true, then why are we having these types of patches for Tekken 8? Well, let me just put it to you this way. The traditional, or rather the hardcore audience of a particular game, while it is smaller, especially when it comes to fighting games, however, the hardcore market is very vocal, as I'm pretty sure you guys have learned. And, it becomes a bit of a PR nightmare, because we're trying to focus on the real casuals over here on this side, but you have the hardcore over this side that's raising hell. And that may affect our bottom line. So like a crying child, you hand them a lollipop, pat them on the head, and then, they'll be quiet and they'll be silent. That's essentially what a lot of the developers do, especially in fighting games, to pacify the hardcore audience as to not make as much noise. Because I want to ask you guys this question, and actually comment this in the video. I asked you this. Do you really think that the Tekken 8 developers would have made the changes they have made with this game were it not for some of the backlash from the community? I highly doubt it. It's cool to have faith in copium and say, oh yeah, I think they would, but no, they wouldn't. What the developers likely tend to do across any game is that they will seek out and remove the bugs from the game. But when it comes to certain balancing of the mechanics specifically, it's rare to see that. This is the reason why I brought up a couple of videos in the past where I talked about Guilty Gear Strive's 2.0 update, where it usually doesn't happen, where a developer of a fighting game will do anything beyond removing bugs and maybe a character, right? A new character, or do a balance changes with the characters themselves. It's usually not often that a developer would likely remove an entire mechanic. And so I have to say, kind of circling back, I have to say that this Tekken 8 patch is definitely a step in the right direction. I was very surprised, but again, to double down on the second time, there is still work to be done. I have heard that they're coming out with a May patch at some point in time in May. Perhaps I will reinstall the game around that time and kind of experience the game from myself and make my own video. But, you know, for this video, I had to utilize I am OP's video, and hopefully he doesn't mind if he catches this video. And but yeah, you know, I think that there's a lot of work to be done. It's a step in the right direction, and hopefully those steps take place. But I have to say that when you understand the nature of the industry, as I do, you understand why these games are made in the way that they are. Now, they could have gone the route of balancing the ratio between the traditional or hardcore audience and the casuals, but from the Tekken 8 developer standpoint, they prioritized the casual, meaning not 100% for those that don't understand that terminology, but the vast majority, like if it's 100%, they're going about 75% casual, and the 25% that's left is, you know, catering toward the traditional slash hardcore market. So yeah, you know, I've also seen, while browsing the internet, you know, Twitter and such, I've seen people leave different videos, you know, showcasing characters that are able to do lots of chip damage. You know, that needs to be addressed, the chip damage. You know, characters that are still able to I think I saw one video, a player use Hwoarang as an example, to where his flappy kick out of heat no longer incurs that heat dash follow-up, but on counter hit outside of heat, you know, it still does a lot of damage, you know. And then I think that kind of does need to be toned down, because the kick itself, the flappy kick, is 8 frames. So it's basically an 8-frame counter hit launcher, you know, outside of just the move itself. You know, so I don't know if they're going to address any of that. I know that people have addressed things in the past. I think even before this current patch, when relating to the heat smashes and the wall splat aspect, where it's like you can purposely whiff the first strike of the heat smash, and then if the second hit connects, some characters will still incur the wall splat. You know, so the developers do have a lot of things to touch up and rectify, but I do say that it is a step in the right direction. Hell has frozen over that I'm actually making a video praising the devs, but it's measured, because like I said, there are a lot of things to be done. You know, I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people that have their own wish lists for things, but I do think that it is important for me to at least come out with this video, share my thoughts, and recognize and acknowledge that the developers, for, you know, they did something good. Hopefully, if you guys are still watching the video, you guys take understanding of where the fighting game genre actually is, that it's one of the lowest revenue generating niches within the gaming space, and why the Tekken 8 developers decided to prioritize the casual side of things, given that this game cost $122 million to create. So hopefully I have earned your subscription, maybe even earned a new channel member, who knows, you know. But let me know in the comment section what you think, and I guess that's about it. Anyway, take care, peace.